Hello everybody, so welcome back. So we're going to have a little look at the England team today. And there's been a surprising development in the Keith Farkle game, well early on in the game. We'll have a look at that game. Surprising blunder. So a very typical. So the one drawback of the way White's played, so often you go like Bishop G5 here, right? Or you can go knight c3. That's the most common move here is knight c3. But Keith, I think, wants to get this. He likes this structure, the Carl's bad structure. Probably going to take out a pawn. I think knight takes will run into e4 and White's better. A queen takes runs into knight c3. White's better. So you have to take out a pawn. But the drawback is that black. I mean, not bishop f5 immediately because of queen b3. But the problem is that you go c6 here. So from White's perspective. Bishop f5 is coming, so if you play me like bishop g5, rather than playing normal with bishop e7, I've got this extra option of going bishop f5 at some point. And you don't get your ideal setup with e3 and bishop d3 without allowing me to exchange bishops. Keith played queen c2, which is typical, and then black played g6, which is a very normal move, so you want to go bishop f5. So I think the guy was well prepared up to this point. However, in this position, I don't know what the theory says. Yeah, I'll be tempted with a move like king f8, maybe to g7, even castles is also possible, probably. I mean, I don't think that white is necessarily going to go for h4, h5, but that is something that you would have to consider. However, instead of all this, black blundered horribly here. Basically a losing move. He went queen e7, so why was that a horrible blunder? A very surprising blunder for an experienced grandmaster to make, really. In this position, Keith played a tactic. So again, you know, freeze your video at home and think about why that's a blunder. Why is Black's last move essentially a losing blunder? So in this position, Keith played a move knight d5. I was fuming when I saw that move. Obviously, I was like, oh my god, what's this? What's this guy done, man? This Lexi Ortega, I've got him down for a banker away win. You know, nah, I'm only kidding. But knight d5 is a shocking blow, and I think that's the problem. That when you play chess, you're so tuned into like thinking about the preparation, the strategy. Sometimes you forget about basic tactics, and it seems like the guy just forgot about basic tactics. Now this is obviously completely busted because you're going to lose like. Well, I mean, even queen d8 is completely winning, but queen b5, queen b7, very strong. And so, out of desperation, black realised also this is very bad. For simple reason, you could simply win a pawn where you've already won a pawn, but I would probably even just go back. Actually, I'd be very tempted just to go back, and so this position is so tremendous for white. You're essentially playing the same position you were playing earlier, but you got an extra pawn, which is bad news. So knight e7 was played. Now I believe after g3 is correct. I believe here I would have probably gone bishop h3. That's also what the computer says. I did actually figure that myself before I checked the computer evaluation, because that move looks really obvious. You're attacking the pawn, right? However, what white did was also good enough. Essentially, it looks like he's going to win the game easily because you've got this rook and pawn game. We already know Keith is very good at rook and pawn. Even with his equal material, it's often very difficult to draw with him because he knows so much about his knowledge of rook and pawn in games is very good. But when you're pawn down like this, it's bad news. And the guy has got no compensation for being a pawn down, so he plays on. So it's white to play here. But of course GMs, they're not easy to beat. And even when you won the pawn in the opening, Keith would have been aware that the guy's going to put up a lot of resistance. So you still need to show a lot of skill to convert the extra pawn. Because it's very early in the game to win a pawn. And so that game continues. I mean, I'm not sure what white would play here. I mean, d5 is obviously a move, because then you have to... Well, you've only got a choice between two squares. You can't go here because you're going to drop that with check, I guess. So you would have to go back. Now, I'm wondering if white could simply go f4 then, because if you take here, take it. So given that black has no actual compensation for the pawn, essentially it's a technical exercise. You just have to convert the extra pawn. If you play correctly, if nothing special happens, you're going to win the game, right? But of course, it's easier said than done. But yeah, shocking blunder there by black anyway. So we'll see how that game continues. Also, Keith is well up on the clock. So Alberto Arkle, somebody's put in the comments, Arkle winning without going under an hour again. Incredible. Yeah, his engine is unstoppable. He tends to play quite quickly, Keith, anyway. Like I say, he plays a lot of tournaments, and you know, he's always in form because he plays so much. So this opening is very solid for both sides. However, I mentioned in well, I said I didn't mention, but I was surprised at this move because I felt like Bishop B3 was quite promising for white, and your position looks quite good for white to me. I quite like white's position. I think it's quite a nice, promising isolated pawn position. The computer's saying that something like this is maybe best. And then white has the option of going d5. Probably you have other options, but essentially black wants to go knight a5, rook c8 quickly. So black is creating stuff quickly as well. If you sit there, you know, let's say you play a move like here. Maybe I just go, let's say I just do nothing moves. Well, knight a5 comes in and black's already looking quite good, I would say. Maybe not. Bishop c2 is maybe just, well, probably not dropping a pawn because there's a bishop h7, but knight c4 is one possibility, or bishop d5. But yeah, but he took, which I think is some sort of error. Not really an error, but it's slightly surprising. And apparently here, white. Okay, so again, freeze your screens. What is the best way to recapture? But actually, there's not much in it. But I think what he did was a slight error. I think apparently he should take back the pawn, and then after this you go something like here. Now, one of the ideas is not just attacking that pawn, which can be easily defended with something like rook d8. But it's also the fact you're going to go knight e2. Maybe it's better actually put the queen on d2. Maybe better to put the queen d2. Yeah, one idea is to go knight e2 and then knight d4. Also, bishop g5 is an idea. And it's quite. It looks more natural in some ways to take out a bishop. I don't think queen takes is really what you want, because you don't necessarily want an endgame where black's got a bishop pair. It's possible to take the queen, but he took with a bishop, which does look very natural. So actually they've got this position, and it's John M's to play. But I think he's maybe going to get ground down here. It looks unpleasant for white. Maybe not, because although Alberto David's a good player, he's not like, I think if John was black gets 2700, white gets 2700 here, I think he'd get ground down. But against Alberto David, I'm not so sure. I remember John actually losing a position like this because David Howe wants in the British Championships. That might have been somewhere like Coventry or something like that, right? Like similar kind of pieces where white's got knight and bishop against black's got two bishops. So yeah. Alberto David is a pretty good player. I mean, he's very experienced. He's been around the block. You know, players like that, they tend to, where they're weak is maybe in sharp positions, where it's very gets very complicated. You can maybe beat them, but where it's positional and it's all about understanding, they tend to be quite good, in my experience. Glenn Fleer is playing against Michel Godin. What's his position like? This looks about equal to me. I think I'll be surprised if this game didn't end in a draw. There's not much going on. What about the Stuart Conquest game? Okay, this Keith Arkle game looks like it's about to finish. Okay, yeah, this looks resignable already. In fact, he didn't even allow... very patient play by Keith. Gone B4. Again, you know, I was looking at forcing moves. He's waited for black to do this, and now he's gone D5. And that's the end of the game, essentially, because if you take here, this is a winning king and pawn game, I'm assuming. King here. Well, I presume that move wins. Be surprised. There's something wrong with chess if this wasn't winning, right? Yeah, I mean, essentially that game's over with, and it was pretty much over with from quite an early stage. Just allowing that knight d5 was a very shocking blunder. Let's have a look at the Stuart Conquest game because. Okay, let's just have a look at the current position on the board, rather than going through the whole game in a very tedious way. So it's black to play, right? What should black play in this position? I think it looks unclear actually. I think I'd be tempted to go knight. Is there a manoeuvre like knight e5, knight c6, knight d4? Well, have you got time to carry that out, or is that too slow? Like, let's say I win knight e5 here. It feels okay. Rook d8, rook d8, rook d1, a trade. No, maybe I don't trade. Maybe I go knight c6. If I trade and take on a2, you have queen d8 check. And then you pick off the bishop. So what other options does black have? Stuart's getting shorter time. It's very typical of Stuart. He often gets shorter time. He's a very deep thinker. It says the position's tiny bit better for white. He's playing against Fabrizio Bella. Bellia. It says Bellia. Very easy to think. Bella. So Bellia. Okay, we'll come back to that game. What about Chris Duncan? Is a teammate of mine for Blackthorn. He's playing against Gayula Isaac. Is another guy I never heard of actually. He's obviously a decent player, as I am. White seems to be slightly better here actually. You could play a move like Queen C5. Yeah, you've done some of the right things at least. I don't think it's a huge edge, but it's definitely some advantage there. But the issue is you might trade and then just take and then go d4 and just all the wood starts coming off the board. Ah, but maybe there's e4 and blockade, right? Or also ed, knight d4, knight d4, rook c7 is a problem for black because you're dropping a pawn, right? Yeah, so Queen c5 is certainly a move that white would consider. Not a very exciting position, but okay. What about Malcolm Payne? He's playing against Sarsaba Sizi. Again, a very difficult name to pronounce. I've never heard of such a name. From Hungary. Looks like both sides are really kind of ground to a halt here. Looks okay for black actually. Quite a decent position for black, I would say almost. But it's quite tactical. If you play me like this, then you have to be careful that I might go knight d5 at some point. Okay, we'll come back to that. Chris Beaumont drew. Chris Beaumont is actually representing England. I thought he was Welsh. I'm getting confused now. I thought he represented Wales at some point. But he's from Bristol, right? No, maybe I'm just getting confused again. You know, when you get older, you get easily confused. Godina's taken there, which is actually not a bad move. It's a pretty good move. Godina's another very experienced player, right? And he's been around the block. If you take with a rook, I go rook e1, so I start to get a bit of an initiative. I could take with a bishop. So Keith is still going, but it feels like he's totally winning, right? He's actually like 2 pawns up now. But the guy is refusing to resign. He's gone rook e5. After king f4, yeah, I mean, I can resign that. He has won the game, yeah. King f4, and then yeah, you're going to drop f6. So Keith moves on to, I think he's on 4.5 out of 5, unfortunately. So he's obviously on for a board medal, and England might well win the competition, I would imagine, because they look like they've got the strongest team. Yeah, we got quite a few teams. I think maybe we got 3 teams in the competition, right? Yeah, this is looking good for white. At this position, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, we feel like Alberta David has got some chances of grinding down John Ems, right? But John is so solid here, I'm not sure it's enough. I mean, what do? You put the rook on c4, as can go b3, put a knight on e2. You know, I mean, if you have to control f4 g5, that's kind of a weakness as well. So I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. So Keith's already in the clubhouse with a win, so that's already put us 1-0 up, which obviously that takes the pressure off the other guys in the team. They're getting a boost from that. Or if I was on the team, I'd actually feel disappointed, right? I'd be like, I'll be getting an anti-boost. I'd be like, you know, this is so depressing. Keith's won a game, you know. It's like, I'm just cheering for him to lose the whole time. He's won. I'm like so depressed. I'm probably going to blunder. As soon as he wins a game, I'm going to like blunder. But yeah, I'm like an advocate of that. What was it, that Gore Vidal theory? Like every time your friends succeed, I die a little bit inside. Glenn Flair, yeah, we feel like white can maybe go rook e1, right? But it's quite concrete again. This position, maybe a take in there, but then I take there. Yeah, I think like white's better now. I feel like white is pushing a little bit. Queen d6 is a move, maybe. Queen d6 and just bring the rook to d8. Yeah, probably not enough for any kind of significant. Yeah, I'd say it's equal. In fact, queen f6 is a very good move. What about my queen d6? It's not terrible. Yeah, queen f6 is the most accurate. I think it's also important in these positions where you're under a little bit of pressure to be as accurate as possible. You know, if you start playing my queen d6 move, then you might start to suffer a little bit. You know, he goes rook e1. His plan is very obvious to put the rook on e5. So now you have to find another accurate move, which is bishop d7. Like if you play me like this, yeah, then you rook e5, and then suddenly you start to suffer a little bit. You know. Again, it's not a huge. It's not anything. I think that it's odds on the draw that game. Alberta, I'd say this is probably odds on the draw, but I think it's unlikely the white will win. I mean, more likely that it'll be a draw than black will win, but not by much. And the conquest game, that's very unclear. This match is still in the balance because there is reasonable. I would say 28% chance Alberta David wins. 65% chance that it's a draw in that game. What does that add up to? 83, right? No, 93. That's it. What did I say? 65% plus. Oh, I'm getting confused. Anyway, I think John's probably got about a 5% chance of winning with white, I would say. Just because I think it's so unlikely you'd win with white from that position. Like, you got nothing really to aim for. But you quite well set up defensively. So probably 5% chance John Ems will win. 25% chance Alberta David will win. And 70% chance it'll be a draw. Okay, that's just a stupid guess, right? I mean, I don't really know what the statistics are from here. I just feel like black is pressing here. Black's got the bishop pair. Black's better. But then yesterday I predicted John would lose. He didn't lose. He played a great game and won very easily. make me look like stupid. We crushed them in that match, but this is a tougher match. Italy are pretty good, so Keith had a good result. There's not a player I'm very familiar with, Lexi Ortega. I haven't really seen his name. Michel Godin is very well known, obviously Alberto David. Bellier I'm not familiar with either. But, you know, obviously a decent team. So it's White to play in this position, very sharp position. Typical of Stewart's games. He's a guy who's very good at keeping attention for long periods, I would say. And, you know, is somebody who's just generally a very tough chess player to beat, because he's a very deep thinker and he finds deep ideas and he's good in time pressure. You know, he just thinks about the game in quite a deep way, I would say, compared to even like most GMs, I would say. Really, people like me, I'm quite superficial. My thinking, you know, if I don't find the right idea, I'll sort of move on. But he kind of, yeah. Anyway, I'm babbling. White to play. What move do you play? Here is White. This looks like one of those positions from those Dvoretsky books, right? You know, you have to find like the solution. You know, I'm tempted by the move knight d3 because that slows down the black knight from... He's actually got knight e2. The reason I was tempted to knight d3 because I was thinking that prevents the black knight from moving. But now I'm thinking about it, if you'd gone here, maybe b6 was a bit of an issue because you're very quickly going to go bishop b7, hit the pawn. So he's gone knight e2, and I think the reasoning for that move is... I'm not sure actually what the reason for that move is. Well, maybe he just feels that knight's badly placed. So I think he wants to go f4 to control this square and then put the knight on g3. And then potentially go e5 later in the game. So it becomes very kind of strategical. When you play against good players like Fabrizio Bella, they will find good moves like knight e2. And they're batting the ball back to you, and now you've got to find a way to stop his plan. This is what chess is all about, right? So he wants to go f4 and then e5. What's the best way for black to counter that? Stuart's getting short time. The problem is at knight e5, you go f4, knight c6, bishop c5 is a bit of a problem. You're dropping a pawn, right? So you can't necessarily go knight e5. This is a tough. This is a tough one. What move do you play? I think like knight e2 is a star move. I think that's put Stuart under a bit of pressure because he set him a strategical problem, which is f4 e5 is coming. It's not the end of the world if f4 e5 comes in, but it's difficult. You don't want to go e5 because that would just give white d5 square on a plate. If you play me like b6, I go f4, right? Again, if you go e5 here, maybe f5 is a problem. And then the knight's coming around to d5 later. If you go here, maybe I'll just go here. Maybe, maybe not. But now I get this square. So let's just see what's going on now. No, that didn't happen. So we'll come back to the position. So Stuart has gone b6, right? That was a move. So now I'm thinking f4 is a move. And maybe after f4 he wants to go bishop h6. And but then, yeah, because then that stops knight g3. And then if e5 you have knight takes e5. After bishop h6, white does have other moves. You could play queen c3, for example. You could also play rook b3. Yeah, tough position. This interesting, sharp battle. How many moves have they had? They've had 22. So very short time, Stuart, here. He's got, I presume you get increment, right? So essentially he's got, you know, if you say, well, he's still got 18 moves to play. So for every 18 moves you get an extra 30 seconds. So it's 9 minutes. So essentially he's got 18 minutes to play 18 moves. It's essentially 1 minute a move, right? Or just over 18 minutes to play. So this position, I said that Yeah, I thought bishop f1 was the best. He did find bishop f1, so the guy's playing really well. The best here actually was bishop d2. And then you go a4. b6, you have a5. This is very nice for white. So that would have put Stuart under big pressure, but he played took, which wasn't the best, but solid. Yeah, and I actually said, didn't I? I said knight e5 was the move I considered, right? Just to go to c6. Yeah, I think that was a better option, because he's gone queen c7. And actually I said the best move was knight d3. I'm not, you know, I'm getting all the best moves, but the problem was I was in b6. Ah, but then you go bishop g5, yeah. I didn't see bishop g5, which is, apparently that's a good move. I mean, this is typical computers, right? And then they say that if you go here, then you, rather than trading, which any logical person would, well, I think that's actually quite good. Then you get this kind of structure. Yeah, because I think this structure is very good for white, because that pawn becomes weak. This is the kind of structure you want to aim for in these positions of white, I think. And you get a very nice position. But he's actually saying like bishop f4 is, you know, I mean, who's going to go? Like, no human being is going to go bishop. Well, it's unlikely they would do that. I think it just looks so weird, right? But instead of all this, a very complicated game actually. Yes, I think knight e5 really would have solved Black's problems, but he's now under a little bit of pressure. So he's saying the best move here is knight e5 again, right? Because you actually allow this with tempo. Wow, and then you go back to f7. Because now you've got counterplay with g5 with a knight on f7, which you don't have with a knight on d7. So you've got all this stuff with g5, right? Yeah, but I think knight e2 anyway was good, because it's hard to see that you actually allow this with tempo, right? b6 looks more human. And then white's thinking he's got quite a lot of time. Yeah, I think Stuart is... I think there's two games where we're kind of worse, right? We could even lose the match, even though we're 1-0 down, because I think Glenn is probably going to make a result. But I think John is under a little bit of pressure. And Stuart, although he's higher rated, is worse here. But, I mean, I don't know if he's underdog, because he's... You know, I've seen him... He's very good at turning games around. So I don't necessarily think that, you know, I think the game is... I think White's probably got a better chance than he did at the start of the game. But obviously we're favourites to win the match now, because we're already 1-0 up, and we're like, you know, we outrate them on... Well, we outrate them actually just on Stuart's board. We don't outrate them on the Alberto David board. But he's gone bishop g5. Now knight f6 was played. Yeah. So you could actually take here, and then if rook takes, you could play me like queen b2. But then knight g4 might be the trick. So rook d8, queen b2. You have knight g4, and you don't have time for bishop d8 because of queen h2. So I don't think you could do that. However, maybe like f4 is possible. So what does Black want to do? He wants to go e5, right? Or what? I don't... Yeah, what's his reply to f4? I'm intrigued to know. Yeah, e5 is coming, so this looks unpleasant. And if you go... I mean, you probably maybe have to do this, but then I'll be slightly concerned about knight c3, maybe. But knight c3, ef4, right, gets very concrete again. Probably okay for Black, right? There's nothing special there. I mean, you could play that, but... You know, you could go knight d5, you could go knight c3, ef4, knight d5, cd5, but then you're a pawn down. This doesn't feel like a very good way to navigate the position. I'm not that White's even gone f4 yet, right? There's other moves. But I'm wondering, you know, what could possibly be better than f4 here? So like f4, e5. Maybe f5 actually. I probably need to change the thumbnail on the other video I did of the European team seniors, because it's quite insulting. I just said this picture is really old man. Yeah, F5 looks good for white actually. Maybe, yeah, F5 and then you're better somehow. Just play, right, just play moves. Yeah, very sharp position. So what is the engine saying? Yeah, F5 is a better choice. So it's actually saying the best move here, which I think is almost impossible to find, right? I mean, come on, man. This is so deep. The best move here is Rook DC1. That's incredible. There's just no way I'd find that. I don't think anyone would play that move. Maybe again, I'd be interested to see if that's the top move on the highest depth. It reminds me of my impossible quiz. And the idea is, I think, what the computer wants to do is basically say that is a weakness, but the more piece, if I trade here, for example, I could trade and go here. As I said before, this is a losing blunder because of no, it's not a losing blunder actually. You've still got this. If you didn't have that move, it would be a losing blunder, but okay, it's not great. But Queen B3, yeah, H6. Yeah, it's very interesting that the computer's so patient there. It quite likes Rook DC1. It's such a hard move to find. But basically, in this position, you're defending. You like to have a purpose, right? You like to trade. This is a difficult position for black, I think, to defend because there's no way to really trade pieces. Like when you're worse, you're slightly worse here. The pawn here is backward. Yeah, this pawn is isolated. You're not significantly worse, but there's slight problems with your position. You know, white's creating some pressure. Bishop on G5 is well placed. When you're slightly worse, when you're worse like this, you want to have like a plan to exchange pieces, right? And relieve the pressure. But the problem is here you don't really have that. You know, when you go Rook DC1, you're basically saying that Rook has got it's got nothing to do really on that file. It couldn't even like double and then go Rook there because it still wouldn't be threatening Rook D2 because Bishop on G5. So yeah, and then after there, then you know you play F3, which is Gary's favourite move, right? You just kill all the play for black. Structure is everything in chess. So there's such a tough move to find. Rook DC1. I mean, come on, man. I wouldn't play that move. There's no way the guy is going to play that move. He has actually gone for the most straightforward, but this is also practically difficult for black, I would say. This is maybe like a simpler way to do it, right? He didn't find Rook DC1, which is not surprising. But it shows the computer always starts from move 1, right? It goes in a position, what is the best move? You know, you're thinking, well, I've got the rook on the d file, I want to trade the rooks, right? Human perspective, you're thinking, right, I want to trade the rooks. But from a computer perspective, it just thinks, what is the best move? It doesn't care about, you know, whether I'm controlling the d file, all this kind of stuff. It just thinks, right, I'm going to go there because for practical purposes, it's better to keep 2 pairs of rooks on, which is very interesting actually. Yeah, that's not a move I would really consider. But in the game he went here, now it's actually practically difficult for black, for Stuart, because how do you defend this pawn? Like you can't go here because it's losing on the spot. Bishop F4. Or it's very bad anyway. You don't really get enough comp after B5. Obviously you can't take here because the rook is hanging. So you probably have to play this move. The engine suggests which H6. But to a human perspective, you think, well, after H6, why isn't Bishop F6, Queen B6 just better for white because it's pawn up, right? But let's see what it says. Firstly, you have to find H6, which is not certain. So why is this not better for white? Well, apparently it is. But you can maybe defend it. So I think Stuart's under like huge... Yeah, he's blundered here, which I think is very understandable. It's not obvious to see that H6 is... Some of that ending, you kind of want to avoid it, right? And now he's under big pressure to find... Guy starts finding the best moves. Queen b6, and then bring the bishop to e3. Apparently this is very strong. You just give back the pawn, the knight e4, and then you go rook d1. Okay, not so easy to find this from White's perspective either. I don't think it's certain that he's going to find all this. Like, why would you play? Like, your first thought is that why even go? Why do you need to go rook d1? I presume there's other ways to be better as well. I mean, even a move like here, right? Queen c6. You're better, but there's tricks with knight f2. Really? Oh, because there's a queen. Oh my god, yeah. So that was the idea behind rook d1. You stop this knight f2 trick with queen f5. Crazy, right? But okay, I mean, that's fairly obvious that he's going to take on b6, right? What else? I mean, here is not that much better. I think you have to take, right? So that's his idea, go rook f8 and then just hustle up some play. But it feels like a move you play quickly because you're getting shorter time and it's not being properly calculated, or you're kind of hoping a little bit. Yeah, so he's under pressure. Glenn Fleer is worse as well, actually. So I think actually we might not win this match. And David is better, but I feel like that game is quite likely to be a draw. Or Black would have to do an amazing technical job to win it. You know, I would say it's possible, but you're going to have to play so well to win that game. Whereas this game, I feel like this could, you know, but they're both getting quite short of time, I would say. They've got loads of moves left, so he's gone queen e3, which is very surprising to me. Basically, yeah, I mean, I would have just taken there automatically. I know the engine said it was the best move. It's just such an obvious capture, right? But he's afraid. His idea is that after there, you think, well, if you move the rook, you've got to get out the bishop pair because otherwise you're losing this pawn, right? But the computer says that after bishop e3, you give back the pawn, but then you're a lot better. Because after this, here, and then rook d1. You also got ideas maybe rook d8. Just take the steam out of Black's position, and then you're just much better structure. All these weak pawns. Really unpleasant position for Black to defend. But he's gone queen e3, which is a kind of human way to play it. Pretty good move, actually. And now maybe the threat is f4. The threat is to take on b6 or go f4. So very difficult position for Stuart to defend, I would say, practically. Yeah, I would expect us to lose one of these games because we're under pressure on at least, well, all three boards left were under pressure. You know, potentially we could lose a match 3-1, weirdly, you know, even though we started with a great result. Like, you know, very early on we were winning on one of the boards. And now we're under pressure. So we could be Italy could. But a lot will depend on the Stuart game. It's still very sharp. The guy could mess it up, right? I feel like these games, like it's either going to be a win for White here or a draw. And this game, I feel, is again, it's either going to be a win for Black or a draw. But this game is very sharp still. So I wouldn't rule out Stuart winning a game. You know. But in general, they've done a good job, Italy, considering that they essentially started like 1-0 down very early on, you know, because they were losing very early on in one of the boards. Because the guy blundered. So this is the key position now. You apparently have to take with a queen on e4. Why can't you take with a knight? Maybe there's tactical reasons. So that's just bad because of bishop f4 and you're getting... Yeah, that's quite easy to see because queen has got no good square to defend the knight. So I expect he'll take with the queen. Which of course you don't want to do, right? Because queen c5. Well, but then knight d7, you have to find queen c6. So queen e4, maybe he'll just go for an endgame. I think after this he might just trade, to be honest. Yeah, he'll just trade and go bishop e3. Yeah, this is much more likely. But this is also very unpleasant. So very difficult position for Stuart. Let's hope he can come through. I mean it this time. I like if it was Keith under pressure. Actually, hope, I really genuinely do hope Stuart comes through, you know. But oh my god, what's happened here? Oh no, hang on. Oh no, those games already finished. I say suddenly saw +8 flush up. It's like, wow. Queenie won. Yeah. So that's the story of what round is that? That's round 6. How many rounds is it? There's 9 rounds, so there's 9 rounds left. It looks like Keith will win a board prize. I'm not sure about the overall standings. Results. Ranking this after round 5. England 1 are leading. Yeah, but they've got 4 points, right? What does that mean by... No, they've lost. We lost 1 match, have we? I'm slightly confused. What was our match that we lost? We beat Scotland. Oh no, we lost to Montenegro. So we are leading the competition anyway, right? Italy, if they beat us, they've got 2 draws. Oh no, hang on. Right. So tiebreak 1, which is the point score, maybe. They got 8 points, right? Is that how it works? Because we've won 4 but lost 1 match. They've won 3 and drawn 2. So presumably if they win, they go ahead of us, right? And actually at the moment it looks like there's possibly odds on they will win. So interesting situation. I think the draw is still... I think it'd either be a draw or win for Italy. I think out of those 3 games, I think we'll probably lose 1 and then draw the other 2. But it depends on the Stuart game. Stuart, as I said before, is not... You know, I wouldn't surprise me if he ended up winning. And then... although I must admit in that ending, his only move was Queen E4, right? He's worse. But yeah, overall we're doing pretty well. So good luck to England. And hopefully England will do well in the Euros as well, the football this summer. But thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe, blah, blah, blah. And I hope to do more of this type of content. Thank you.